The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's a Monday. And as usual, we got a ton of stuff.
Yep, and it's sweatboxing here today. I think they got the chickens out back roasting. And
that may be intentional, but...
yeah, I think Sam's Bakery called. They need extra ovens.
Because I know the state can afford air conditioning because it's all money.
When have they ever had a problem spending?
Yeah, when have they ever had a problem spending our money?
Yep. Well, you know, one of our viewers wrote up a piece, and I put it here. I'm leaving the viewer's name off at this point in time until after this is over. And I cleaned it up by removing references to names of political candidates if necessary. But, you know, I think it's funny because you remember how they were vilifying a certain presidential candidate for wanting to restrict immigration based on religious backgrounds?
Yes.
Well, guess what? We've been doing that since 1952. It's a law passed by a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and last used by a Democratic president in 1979. It's called the McCarran-Walter Act. And it allows the president, with the stroke of a pen, to restrict immigration from any country, group of people, religious background, when it serves the needs of the country. The president may, by proclamation, and for such a period as he shall deem necessary, may suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose any restrictions on the entry of aliens he may deem to be appropriate. That happened in 1979 with President Jimmy Carter, when he restricted immigration from Iran and hauled up all the Iranian students in the United States and deported 15,000 of them for violations of the visas. Now, don't you find it funny that political parties, whether you're Democrat or Republican, can't accept what you've done? You cannot say, hey, yeah, we did that. We created that. That's our law. All right? But in order to tout the bull, we're now going to hang this around the neck of another presidential candidate. And I'm neither for nor against any of the candidates. I'm being very impartial here. But this is the law. It's the McCarran-Walter Act.
Yeah, well, there's only one problem with that, CJ. You're talking about it's only a law. And when was it passed? Okay, it was passed in 52. It was utilized in 79. But the problem is, in 1979, you didn't have the two most unpopular candidates in the history of the United States running for president that were trying to, you know, and you had one that was pandering to every minority group in the country to try to get elected. And, you know, we did not have that large a Muslim population in this country in 1979, and we were having problems with Iran, and Carter implemented this law that was on the books he deported a bunch of them, and several thousand were found in violation of their visas, etc. But the problem is, and nobody's, you know, look, the problem we have here is, and I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't, but let's not pretend that this is anything more than politics.
Right, that's all
you know,
it is.
Unfortunately, one candidate has put the safety of this nation behind getting votes. That's my opinion. You can disagree, but that's fine. I think the safety of this nation, and I'm not saying throw all the Muslims out, but I don't think that we should allow, and I agree, I don't think we should allow immigration into this country from any group, because it doesn't matter. if you let in 10,000 immigrants and there's 20 that are radicalized and kill hundreds or thousands of Americans, was that worth it? No. I mean, you know, we've got to get our own house in order, our own security. To me, you know, the primary duty of a nation is to protect its people. You know, I think that there was a document that said to ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for the common defense, to promote the general welfare. That kind of rings a bell. I'm not sure if they've forgotten about that little thing.
I think that's
it's a preamble. It's a preamble. But, you know, I mean, there it was, our forefathers, you know, to promote, you know, provide for the common defense. And that means provide for security, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And safety. I mean, our laws protect you in your own home. It says that your home is a sanctuary. You know, the government doesn't have the right to just charge in there without warrants and things. So safety is an integral part of a society. And, you know, all this pandering to groups because of votes just goes to show that this country has degenerated into nothing more than politics. It's not about the people anymore. It's about politics. Or as Theodore Roosevelt once said, and I'm doing this, is paraphrasing, I don't want to be accused of plagiarizing or anything. It's a paraphrase of something that Theodore Roosevelt said, you know, a long time ago, that, you know, the great Roman Empire began to degenerate when its voters stopped voting. And the great electorate of the Roman Empire became too worried about their own comfort and didn't vote. I'm paraphrasing. There was a whole speech. I can get it someday. Maybe on a commentary I'll read it. It's a very, very profound speech, just as his hyphenated American speech was. He was talking about these things over 100 years ago, and we see them manifested again today. So people who say, don't talk about the past, well, if you don't learn from the past, you're doomed to repeat it. We had a president that was talking about these issues well over 100 years ago. And you know, this disturbs me. You know, when I see things like this, and you're right. You know, it disturbs me when they politicize things. And look, I'm a union guy. I think everybody should be created equal. I don't care if they like somebody or dislike somebody. If they're putting in an honest day's work for an honest day's wage, they should be protected. You shouldn't have to kiss the boss's butt to get ahead. You also shouldn't be given special treatment because you are a butt kisser, or you're friendly, or you're related. So, but this disturbs me.
$90,000 a year job?
Yeah, this you know, this kind of thing disturbs me because, you know, it's obviously politics. It's just like the commercials. I saw the new commercial for Clinton talking about her building economy by putting an exit tax on companies that leave the country. I guess she's got some problems with her hippocampus, which deals with short-term memory. Well, actually, it may be a little bit longer-term memory in her case. But her husband's one of the people that created these problems. Her husband was the guy that pushed all these international trade agreements. He was one of the greatest proponents in history. And I still remember the debates about it, how it was not going to lower American wages. Well, it didn't. It eliminated American wages because it began the outsourcing of jobs. So, you know, it's amazing how things change, and nobody takes any accountability. Well, you have to address how we got here. And it's unfortunate, but you were part and parcel of how we got here. So, you know, there's way too much politics, and the politics is way too divisive because this is what people do, divide and conquer. Remember the old saying, united we stand, divided we fall. And as Roosevelt again said, Theodore, not Franklin Delano. There should be no such thing as a hyphenated American. There should be no such thing as a Mexican American, a Muslim American, or Portuguese American. That's your ethnicity. If you live in this country and you love this country, you should be an American. And as he said very clearly, some of the greatest Americans he knew were naturalized Americans. They were not born in this country. But your loyalty should be to this country and only this country.
And, now that you said that, let's also go into the fact that the McCarran-Walter Act requires that an applicant for immigration must be of good moral character and in agreement with the principles of our Constitution. Therefore, one could surmise that since the Quran forbids Muslims to swear allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, technically, all Muslims should be refused immigration to our country. That's what the writer of this said. And she closes this with, "Are you listening, Mr. President?" This was written by Sarah Rebello. Sarah is a viewer, a great supporter of our program. When I saw this morning, I said, I've got to talk about it. Not because it's pro-Trump or anti-Hillary or pro-Hillary or anti-Trump, because it's the law. And we always say, the law is the same for everybody. But when you don't equally enforce the law, then you create these problems. You create dichotomies that we can't get out of.
And why hasn't someone called him on this? This has been brought up by a viewer. And, the fact is, look what's happened in this country. There are areas of this country that have allowed them to implement Sharia law.
Right.
Which is against the Constitution of the United States. By the way, for all you people that are pandering so much that you allow them to create nations within our nation, and then you wonder why there are terrorist activities. The fact is that Sharia law does not allow due process. That's a violation of the Constitution of this nation. And anywhere that allows Sharia law, it should be eliminated. I'm sorry. This is not Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, or any other place. It's not a Muslim country where there are no virtual separations of church and state, as are guaranteed by this nation's Constitution, and the guarantee of due process. All these things are violations. And why are they violations? Why? It's not the fact that our lawmakers can't read the law. It gets down to the bottom line that we talk about on this show, every single show. It gets down to the bottom line. The people have allowed the government and the politicians in this nation to create their own society. They are an aristocracy. They are a monarchy. And you know whose fault it is? The people. They vote them in. They vote them in again and again and again. And then they say, that's right, they should vote them all out except my guy, because I can call my guy's office and maybe get an in with the Medicare. If I have a problem with Medicare, I can call my congressman and they might do something for me. So get rid of all the other congressmen, but not my congressman. Well, as far as I'm concerned, we should get rid of them all. This nation would be far better if we went back to our roots, which is no politicians for life. The reality is this nation was founded by people who were not politicians. They were printers, they were tradesmen,
farmers, fishermen,
landowners, who put down their plows and their pens and picked up a rifle and fought the greatest army on the planet at the time to create a nation. And when they were done, they took their rifles and they put them back and they went back to their lives. Some of them entered politics for a short time. You didn't see any 50-year or 40-year terms in those days. Today, being in Congress, being a politician is the greatest gig you can get. And we've allowed them to keep that gig. As I said, on our own state level, they just passed a law to allow you to give them more money. They won't give you a lousy tax holiday, but we can give them more money. So let's remember always when we talk about these things that regardless of whether you agree or disagree, let's not, we talk about accountability and consequences. Our government is a consequence. But who's accountable? We are. We are as voters, because ultimately we run this country. We run this country. And if you vote these people out and make politics something that people volunteer to go to for a term or two and then leave and turn it over to the next citizen who may only have the citizen's interest at heart, we'll have a much better government and a much better nation.
Sounds good to me. But you know, I find it very disconcerting when we hear blatantly that we're violating the law when we're not. Because this dichotomy we've created is so ambiguous, we're never going to be able to enforce anything eventually. But we need to move on. Mark Dion got back on track with this column. And I think the writers for our show need to meet with him so that we can make sure that, you know, we don't say anything that he's going to write about next week. But again, you know, he's saying the 34th time in 24 years that he's worked at the Herald News, they're going to revitalize downtown. You know, I've said this over and over again. I've said it in numerous weekend flushes. I've said it on this show. Fall River can't get out of its own way. Okay? So, hey, William Kennedy, do everyone a favor. Retire. You must have enough time in the system. You have been a political suck-ass for I don't know how many years. You've never held a real job, I don't think. Because you've always had appointments from governor to mayor, to, you name it, you've always served in government service. I don't know if it's that you can't get a job in the real world, if you don't want a job in the real world.
Why would you want one?
Yeah, exactly. Why would you want one?
When you get a gig like this.
Yeah. But when you go and you beat a dead horse for so long, guess what? There's no horse left. There's not even bones. It's ashes. It's gone. It's pulverized. Fall River destroyed the downtown. The entire downtown. You turned around, you took buildings, you made them housing for the elderly, for the disabled. Wonderful. Very happy for you. And then you hold block parties in the middle of downtown. And then you move a courthouse in the middle of downtown. Businesses can't even survive there. And you want to revitalize it. Who do you think we are? Do you think we're that stupid? I know the mayor thinks we're that stupid because he's moving $30,000 again into tourism. A line item expense. A line item expense means that he's going to hire a friend to do this job. Okay? Somebody with no background, no experience, and more particularly, no credibility or no track record on turning the city around. And I said this in the weekend flush. Okay? Like it or not, Fall River's downtown is dead. It will remain dead. Because previous mayors, like Ed Lambert, decided that a courthouse would look wonderful in the middle of downtown, in between senior housing, where the criminals come in and out and knock over grandma to steal her pocketbook so they can go get a heroin fix. That's what downtown is. That's what it's become. It's derelict. There's nothing there. You can't revitalize it. Okay? This isn't Providence. You've got to stop looking at this because, well, Providence was able to do it. Providence is still trying to do it because they don't know where to go with it. and it's getting very difficult for them. You know, I said in the Weekend Flush this weekend, and, you know, I want to say it very clearly because I think it's important for people to realize. You say that we're always being negative. Well, let me tell you how negative it is, okay? Every reference ever made in movies or television regarding Fall River has been negative. Our image is so bad, they won't even film movies in Fall River, about Fall River, or TV shows in Fall River, about Fall River. They go to Canada. Why? Because we've destroyed anything that they can use to portray Fall River in the way it was or the way it should be. Newport can still do it. How come Fall River couldn't? Because Fall River put a courthouse in the middle of everything. There's nothing left. Here's what the marketing is, okay? The current brand that Fall River has, not only in Fall River and throughout our region, but across the country and in Hollywood, it's a place that you pass, city that you pass through, and you keep on going. A crap hole. I didn't use those words in my column, but I'm being nice. A drug haven. A city known for bars and brawlers. Fall River is known all around as a city where you punch first and ask questions later. That's how we're marketing Fall River. And it's going to take more than $30,000 and a friend to change the image of Fall River. We're going to go for the cooler and warmer marketing plan. You know the one that Gina Raimondo used that cost them millions of dollars? Well, Jason Correa wants to do the same thing. You know, that marketing plan up there ended up getting dubbed Dumb and Dumber. And we're going to go from dumber to dumbest. Fall River can't rebrand itself until it fixes its problems. And you throwing millions of dollars after drug addiction isn't going to fix the problem. You know what? I'm hearing more and more every day from people. Since we've made Narcan available, there are more overdoses. One day, 8 overdoses in 30 minutes. And they were frequent flyers. For those of you who don't know what a frequent flyer is, a frequent flyer is somebody who does it over and over and over again. And that's what these people are doing. I said to the Canadian Health Ministry, I said it on this program, I said it in commentaries. The availability, the widespread availability of Narcan is going to create a new social norm. And guess what? It has. There's a reason why Darwinism always wins out. And again, eventually, it will win out again.
Well, look, let's call a spade a spade. You know, this rebranding and tourism, you know, you've got to get a modicum of reality. You know, you gotta, you know, Sun Tzu said in The Art of War, know yourself and know your enemy, and you're assured of victory in 100 battles. Well, apparently our government doesn't know itself. Listen, under the best of circumstances, Fall River's never going to be a tourist destination. We should let the businesses handle it. There are ways to do it. We don't have the kind of hook it takes to make tourism a major industry in Fall River. We can't. The fact is that Newport does. It has the 12-mile drive, the history, the Great Gatsby, the mansions. The Cape does, you know, the Kennedy Complex, the beaches, as does even coastal Maine. But Fall River doesn't. What are you going to take them to Sandy Beach? You know, Dave's Beach? We're never going to be a major, yeah, we can have some tourism if you did it right, like they do in, like the place I talked about on shows a long time ago in North Carolina, where there's really nobody would ever visit that area. But they had a lot of space, and what they did was they created a massive softball complex. And they have national tournaments where teams from all over the eastern United States go down and spend a week. And when you spend a week down there, you have to get a hotel and you have to spend money. So it brings some people in. And you can go see some you can go see some of the tourist attractions that are close. It's like when you go to Las Vegas. Would you ever go to Las Vegas just to go through the Red Rock Loop, through the desert, which is a nice picturesque little loop? No, but if you're there, you'll see it. But Fall River, we always try, we create myths, and we're going to fix everything by being totally delusional. And as Mark Monroe said, William Kinney, Fall River's largely invisible city planner and chairman on the completely invisible Redevelopment Authority. Well, that's it. And this is what he said. And he said, here's what he said. Quote, these populations that have to definitely be served in the community, we have to accommodate these people with modest means and elderly folks. But we're out of balance downtown. Well, what do you think? You're going to bring in rich yuppies that are going to, get an apartment near a courthouse? A downtown area has to be mostly a retail area. And by the way, Mr. Kenny, I want you to move into the 21st century, maybe the 20th century in your case. I attended a seminar only a few months ago where they talked about incomes. They actually made a very good point. This is a major firm. That retirees in times of economic distress actually positively impact an economy more greatly than any other group. Because when young people are losing their jobs, and millennials are losing their jobs, then they can't keep up their house payments. They got to feed 3 kids. They don't have any money. They begin to lose things. They're not spending it. But retirees, yeah, they're on fixed incomes. They can't live exorbitantly, but they do have some money to spend. And I'm going to tell you something, Mr. Kenny. Get your head out of your rectum. The only reason that there are a few businesses left on Main Street is because of the retirees. Because they have a few dollars to go out to eat once in a while. And they're not going to go out to eat at a high-end steakhouse. They're going to go down to one of these places. And they frequent the coffee shops that are down there. And you're not going to create an urban mixed area. Look what they've done in most cities. In most cities, they have an area, and it's a retail. They create walking areas where there's no auto traffic to bring people in. But that's all based on one very simple thing that we always talk about here, that all of you delusionary fools that are in government fail to realize. Everything is predicated on one thing: people having money. You can't support anything without a community that has people that have jobs and have money to spend, have discretionary income. And as long as this city doesn't fix itself, fix its crime, fix its streets, fix everything, earmark services for its people, try to bring people in rather than non-tax-paying companies that contribute virtually nothing to the city. Don't give Fall River people jobs, don't pay taxes, but influence our tax rate so we pay negatively. We're going nowhere, because you know something? You like the junkie that says, I really like shooting up because it gives me this feeling.
Right.
And I know it's not going to last long, but our feeling has lasted for 30 years. So stay angry, and let's make these politicians get their heads out of their asses.
Well, I agree. Hey, always great to be here with you. We'll see you on Wednesday.